Right. This is our community's house. We are all guests in it here to serve our community. My name is Mike Little, Mayor of the District North Vancouver, and so the pleasure falls to me to welcome you all here to our public hearing. A public hearing is a process that's laid down to us through the Local Government Act, and so I have to be pretty sticky about the rules and follow the provincial system for it. And so I've got some rules to read out at the beginning of the public hearing. Tonight, we're hearing the official community plan and rezoning bylaw for 1246 to 1268 Lynn Valley Road and 3050 to 3174 Baird Road. These are amendments to the official community plan and zoning bylaws. This public hearing is being reconvened to receive further input from the community regarding bylaws 8779 and 8780 pursuant to Section 464 of the Local Government Act, and is being held in a hybrid meeting format, meaning there's a combination of in-person electronic participation by some or all members of council or by staff and the public. The hearing is being streamed live over the internet and recorded in accordance with the Freedom of Information and Protection of Privacy Act. Public participation in this hearing is being accommodated by speakers having signed up in advance, as stated in the notice of motion, as well as observers being provided the Zoom meeting information on the DNV website and in the notice of public hearing. Written submissions will be received by the corporate officer on behalf of and shared with the council at any time up until the time the hearing is closed. These may be submitted to input@dnv.org. Therefore, in this manner, all persons will be afforded a reasonable opportunity to be heard and to present written submissions. The chair has established the following rules for this public hearing. 1, following the staff and applicant presentations, we'll go through the established speakers list. At the end of the speakers list, the chair may call for any other speakers not on the list. 2, speakers will have 5 minutes to address council for a first time and are asked to begin their remarks to council by stating their name. 3, after everyone who wishes to speak has spoken once, speakers will then be allowed one additional 5-minute opportunity. 4, any additional presentations will only be allowed at the discretion of the chair. Speakers are reminded to not repeat information from their previous presentations and to ensure all comments remain focused on the bylaws under consideration this evening. 5, if a written submission has been provided, there's no need to read it as it will have already been seen by the council. Speakers may summarize or briefly reiterate the highlights of their submission. 6, all members of the audience are asked to be respectful of one another as diverse opinions are expressed. Council wishes to hear everyone's views in an open and impartial forum. Some important notes about public hearings. Council is here to listen to the public, not to debate the merits of the bylaw. Council may ask clarifying questions. The corporate officer has a binder containing documents and submissions related to the bylaw which council has received and which you are welcome to review. This is available on the table next to the door and online at dnv.org/agenda. Everyone at the hearing will be provided an opportunity to speak. If necessary, we will continue on a third night. At the conclusion of the public input, council may request further information from staff, which may or may not require an extension of the hearing, or council may close the hearing, after which council should not receive further new information from the public. We don't have to redo the applicant presentation or the staff presentation at this time. If you want to review that, you're welcome to go on our website where those matters will be posted and you can have another look at that. We pick up basically where we left off from last night. For those that joined us right to, I think we went to about 10 to 11 o'clock, 10 minutes before 11 last night. We had gone through everybody who had signed up to speak a first time. And that was kind of where we ran out of time at this point. So tonight, we're going to start with checking in with everybody that's attached to the meeting, either in person or virtual, and say, would anybody else like to address the hearing for a first time? I see a virtual participant, Mark. Let me move Mark over. And then I see a telephone virtual participant. You'll be next. Your phone number ends in 829. We'll come to you right after we go to Mark. Mark, can you hear me?
Do you really think I wouldn't be able to hack in tonight?
Please turn it on. Yep. All right. So it's the phone number that ends in 829. And I believe you have to press *6 to mute yourself.
Hello.
Hello there. Welcome. You have 5 minutes to address the hearing.
Hi, my name is Nancy, and I have lived in Lynn Valley for 30 years. This neighborhood is my home. My kids grew up here, and my friends are here. My doctor is here. My community is here. A few years ago, my husband and I started talking about the future, and the house we've lived in for decades has more space than we need now. The stairs are getting harder. The maintenance is becoming a real job on its own. We love our home, but we've started to wonder whether it still makes sense for the stage of our lives. What we want is simple, a smaller, well-built home, accessible, low maintenance, close to everything we already love about Lynn Valley, a place where we can age in place with dignity without having to leave the neighborhood we've spent a lifetime building our lives in. When I looked into what was actually available in Lynn Valley for someone in my situation, I was genuinely surprised by how little there is. The options are either to leave the neighborhood or stay in a house that no longer fits our needs, and that's not much of a choice for us. The Lynn Valley Mall development proposes 397 new homes, including units that are appropriately sized for people like me and my husband, homes designed for people who want to downsize within their own community, homes close to the Lynn Valley Town Center within walking distance of everything we need. I've heard this proposal described as densification, and I'd call it options. For the first time, I'm looking at a project that would let my family stay in the community we love, in a home that actually works for where we are in life. I hope Council will see this as part of a longer conversation about what it means to build a complete community, one that makes room for people at every stage of life, including those of us who have been here for decades. Thank you.
Thank you. Just want to double check. Was your name Nancy? Is that what I heard?
Yes.
Thank you. Fantastic. Have a great evening. Okay.
You too. Thank you.
We do have some people who have either we missed them last night because we couldn't connect with them at the time, or they've signed up since that time. And so we have this speakers list on the run here. So is Joanne Angus here? Welcome, joining us here in person. Welcome. When you're comfortable, you have 5 minutes to address the hearing.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. My name is Joanne Angus, and I am one of the tenants at Dracut Garden. My family and I have built our lives here, and this is the place we call home. For us, this is not just about buildings. It's about our stability, our future, and our sense of belonging. After listening to the speakers last night, I was struck by how many realtors and professionals who has financial ties with the developers spoke in support of Polygon. Let's be clear, these individuals stand to benefit directly from development like this. Their support is not neutral, and it does not reflect the lived reality of the residents who are struggling to stay in this community. We keep hearing that people are leaving the North Shore because there are not enough homes available. That simply is not accurate. There are homes for sale, but they are priced far beyond what most families can afford. The issue is just not supply. It is affordability. At the same time, our rents continue to increase year after year. Residents are already being stretched to their limits, and many cannot keep up with this rising cost. This leads to a fundamental question. If this housing is not truly affordable, then who are we building this for? Because it is clearly not for the people who live and work here today and are struggling to remain in this community. We are seeing more and more development in our area, but none of this is truly affordable for families like ours. And yet developers claim that they are building affordable housing when we have increased rent year after year. Building more housing does not help if the people who live here cannot afford to stay. A rent that increases every year is not protection. It is a delayed eviction. And while there are many benefits being presented by Polygon, the reality is those costs do not disappear. They are passed on to the people. And when that happens, it only makes housing even more unaffordable for families like ours. We are already seeing the consequences. Families living in trailers behind Walmarts highways at Pemberton Heights. I have personally seen seniors living in their car outside my home. This is not a future concern. It is what's happening now. We are also told that increased investment in buses is a solution. While investment in transit is important, it does not address the core issue of traffic, as not a lot of people take the bus. In reality, many buses are underused. Adding more does not solve the fundamental problem of people being priced out of their own community. I would also note that when business owners speak in favor of projects like this, it can create concern within the community about whose interests are being prioritized. Local support is built on trust, and residents want to feel business are standing with the community, not against it. What we are seeing is a proposal that prioritizes profit over people. It risks accelerating displacement, not preventing it. I urge Council to look beyond the polished messaging, and I ask who truly benefits from this development and who is being left behind. Because right now, it is everyday residents, families, workers, children, seniors who are paying the price. We are asking you to protect the people who already live here by ensuring real long-term affordability, not temporary solutions that fade over time. Mr. Mayor, I also have a letter from my daughter. I'll read it really quickly. Dear Mayor and Council, my name is Rory Angus. I'm 11 years old. A month ago, my parents told me that we have to move to an apartment. When I heard this, I was very sad. I've moved many times in my lifetime, and the townhomes I'm living in now is my favorite house. I love to get a good sleep. When I heard where we're going to live beside one of the most noisiest street in Lynn Valley, when I move, I don't think I'll ever get a good sleep again. Another thing is I love to go on a bike rides with my friends and family right now. I just walk out the door and go for a ride. But when I move, I'll have to take the elevator. I've made good memories here, and I hope you have a good day. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments, Joanne Angus. The next speaker I have is Dennis Agar.
Hello, can you hear me?
I can hear you clearly. Welcome. You have 5 minutes to address the hearing.
Thanks a lot. My name is Dennis Agar. I'm the executive director of Movement Metro Vancouver Transit Riders, but I'm just here as a private citizen, and I just wanted to just pipe in quickly to say that I support this development. I think this is exactly the right kind of development that we want to see in this region, and it's in the right place. Lynn Valley is really paradise on earth, and we want to be able to see more people live there. And this is right in the Venn diagram in terms of being close to nature and having really excellent transit access on Lynn Valley Road, like a one-seat ride, bus connection to Phibbs Exchange, to downtown Vancouver, to down to Central Lonsdale, and all the places that people want to get to on transit. And it's only going to get better from here. I also think the way that they're handling, trying to prevent renter displacement is really excellent. And I know it's been enshrined in law in some municipalities to have those kinds of protections for renters. And I'd love to see that kind of thing in the DNV going forward. But I think this could set a good precedent for potential developments in the future. So yeah, looking forward to this one. Thank you very much.
Thank you for your comments, Dennis Agar. The next speaker I have is Michelle King, joining us virtually.
Hi, can you hear me?
Clearly, welcome. You have 5 minutes to address the hearing.
Thank you. My name is Michelle King. I live in Lynn Valley. I have for almost 20 years, and I live in the Arbor Wind townhouse, which is just down the street from this development at Baird and Herald. I want to make clear that I'm not affiliated with the applicant or any other development company. While I've provided written comments already after listening to the public input yesterday, I felt it was important to speak in person as well, even though I hate public speaking. So let me make it clear where I stand. Yes, Lynn Valley needs more housing, more diverse housing, and more affordable housing. Yes, the Lynn Valley Mall site desperately needs redevelopment. Yes, we should increase density in the town center. And yes, this proposal does bring benefits, including accessibility features, which I particularly appreciate as a person with a disability. However, I do not support this proposal in its current state. I have a wide range of concerns, a lot of which you've already heard, so I'm just going to focus on a few key areas. First is housing need. What I heard yesterday was clear support for additional housing, and I share that view. But the question before council is not simply whether the housing should be added, it's whether or not this is the right proposal. Approving a project simply because it is the one before you sets a very low bar for the neighborhood. Your decision will shape the neighborhood for decades to come. I want to echo what one of the other presenters said yesterday. Lynn Valley can do better, and it deserves better. While this proposal does deliver more units, I haven't been convinced that it delivers the right mix of housing. I'd like to see a clear and concise analysis from district staff demonstrating the current and future housing needs in Lynn Valley and how this or any other proposal meets those needs. I'd like to see information that focuses on the balance of rental and strata units, availability of family-sized homes, and whether or not the proposal meaningfully addresses the so-called missing middle. I would also like to see information about costing and whether or not units will really be affordable, not just have the developer say that it will be. If this analysis exists, I missed it in the very extensive public materials. Second, I want to focus on the alignment with the official community plan. The OCP was developed through community consultation and already has sound planning principles, including supports for significant increased density on both sites, including a move from the current RM3 to RM5 for the Drake Garden site. I ask Council to respect the direction established through the OCP process. Changes to the plan should be driven by the voices of your community, not by the requests of a for-profit developer. The OCP also requires that development in the town center transitions sensitively to surrounding neighborhoods. And I know we've talked about this a lot. Even with the step backs, 2 6-story buildings directly facing the lower scale single family and townhouses on Baird and Herald represent an abrupt change in scale. It's not a sensitive transition as required in the OCP. The proposed development also feels really generic. The OCP emphasizes context and sensitive design, yet this project could be located anywhere. It doesn't reflect the character identity of Lynn Valley at all. The site is also very inward focused. The central space is not visible from any other significant areas in the town center, such as the library, Lynn Valley Village, the center. The OCP clearly talks about having open public spaces in town centers, and this design does not do that. I also want to touch on transportation and traffic. So the proposal includes a new transit hub, and that confuses me because we've got one on 27th, just on the other side of Lynn Valley Center. So I'm not sure why we have a second hub and so close to the current one, and why are we putting a hub on an arterial route where it can cause problems. So I'd like council to explore the opportunity to integrate the proposed rapid bus to the existing hub. Doing that could free up space on this site for other and better uses. Traffic, I know we've talked a lot about traffic. I want to emphasize it doesn't reflect the current reality of local residents. In fact, it actually made me laugh. The congestion at peak times is already a daily issue for us, and it continues to get worse. Even the small projected increases will have significant volume impacts on the residential streets in the area. I challenge you, Mayor and council members, to try driving down Harold and Ross roads between Baird and From, and tell me if you think they actually function as two-way streets, because I can tell you we don't think they don't. We don't think they function as two-way streets right now. We talked about sidewalks. I want to point out that there is already a sidewalk on the west side of Baird at certain
Michelle
sections.
King,
Yep.
if you could draw to a close, you're beyond 5 minutes. Now you
Oh,
do have
I'm
an
sorry.
opportunity to come back for a second 5-minute period, and you probably
Okay.
won't have to wait that long before that comes up if you'd like to speak a second time.
Yes, I would. Let me finish about the sidewalks. So the presenter has said that they want to add a sidewalk on the west side. Well, the ones on the east side, the ones on the west side aren't being used, not just by the students, by anybody. So I don't see how just adding a sidewalk will do anything. And I will wrap up here
You
and
to the list of, I'll add you to the list of second-time speakers, and
thank you.
we should get there relatively quickly.
Thank you.
Okay, then the next speaker I have, we did have someone connected to the meeting with the name Chris Harper on the virtual list. And the name seems to have disappeared from the virtual list. So if you changed your name or disconnected and want to connect back up again, we'll circle back to Chris Harper. But at this moment, we don't see a name that reflects that. Once again, just an encouragement to anybody participating virtually, please use the username that you signed up with. It does help us match you up and pull you over to the panel. So I'm going to miss Chris Harper at this time. We'll come back and double check again. Nancy Yazdan. Okay, so this one's a bit of a puzzle because we couldn't connect with Nancy yesterday either, but she apparently indicated sometime in the next 24 hours that she did again want to speak. So we don't have anyone here named Nancy Yazdan. She's the only one I didn't have check marked from yesterday. So she was on the list and we never were able to connect with her. Okay. Oh, was that Nancy Yazdan? We just don't know. Anyway, it wasn't Nancy. Okay. All right. We'll double check anyway, because we're here to exhaust public speaking. So the next participant is Shannon Chang joining us virtually.
Hi.
Shannon Chang, can you hear me?
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can. Clearly. Welcome. You have 5 minutes to address the hearing.
Okay. 1 second to get started here. I've never done this before, and I abhor public speaking. All right. I'd hoped to be better prepared, so my apologies for that. I want to speak on this as well. I did attend yesterday. I've lived in Lynn Valley. I've lived in North Van since 2003, and in Lynn Valley probably for the last 8 years. In regards to this particular proposal, I am not a big fan. I don't support this proposal the way it is. The thing is, what they're asking for is sort of like a change to the rules and things like, and kind of like an exception. If they were working within the OCP, we wouldn't be here. So if they're going to do that, and if we're going to grant that, it's like, what are we getting kind of in return? And I want to put things in a little bit of perspective here. Again, this was all rushed, so apologies for that. Can you guys see this?
Yes.
Okay.
Oh, wait. I can
don't see
see
anything.
a beach scene floating by behind you, Shannon.
It's a PowerPoint and map.
No,
So-
I cannot see a PowerPoint. It doesn't have your screen shared at this time. But it looks lovely where you are.
Yeah,
I suspect that's not Lynn Valley.
no, this is not. This is some sort of weird virtual background. Okay, this is going to be a little bit more difficult then. Okay, I'll try to forward you the documents. It's going to be a little bit harder to talk about. But basically, here's the thing. I know that a lot of people have talked about the need for increased diversity in housing and for more affordable housing. I am totally on board with that. I totally get that. However, I don't think that this proposal is really the right fit for that. We do want increased density, and we want to be within walking distance of a vibrant sort of town center and things like this. But this particular development is talking about putting the residents not close to the town center, but kind of like right on top of it. In my view, it's almost kind of like choking it out. There's other issues as well, but the big one, there's another one about pre-existing residents. And again, I just wanted to put this in perspective. I think it's great that they're doing something, because they could, I suppose, they just as easily evict everyone and things like that. And nobody wants that. But again, I just wanted to put it in perspective. What's being offered to the residents is that, I mean, sure, they can move into another spot and they're going to pay the same rent. But they're going to get a smaller space. They're going to lose their yard. They're going to have to put up with 4 years of construction. And at the end of the day, they're getting a place that has more noise, less privacy, and less independence. I mean, hey, it's better than nothing. Like I said, they could just easily evicted everyone. But let's put that into perspective and exactly what's being offered here. The biggest thing that sort of worries me is that when this is built, there'll be a big opportunity cost. There will no longer be any ability to, say, increase the density of commercial space. And in terms of commercial space, they're not offering anything more than what's already there. If I were to look for a more equitable project, I would want something that would actually increase community value, for lack of a better term. And what I mean by that is, yes, I want more services. I would want more community space. I would definitely want more commercial space. If we're going to make this a city center, a hub, it can't be just about, hey, let's pile on a ton of residents close to what's existing. We have to make this place something that people will want to come to, more options that way as well. We're going to lose a bunch of street parking. I don't know if the parking they're proposing, the underground parking, I couldn't find stats on how many existing parking spaces there were. But just by the very nature of making them underground is already going to dissuade people from going in there. I don't know if it's going to be free, because if there's any kind of parking toll or anything like that, that's going to basically dissuade pretty much anybody from using it on a casual basis. What's going to happen is that all that pressure from the commercial traffic and everything else, the things that used to make use of that surface parking, it's going to get pushed out into the rest of the community. So it's kind of like, and yes, they're going to sort of donate a ton of money towards municipal coffers, and I get that there's value in that. But somebody yesterday once mentioned about how construction was like short-term pain for long-term gain. That kind of money, we're talking about one-time gain and forever pain. Lots of people said, hey, all these good things could be done with that money. But again, perspective, right? There's no guarantee that the particular project that you are advocating for or that could be spent on this is going to fulfill. And I guess that about sums it up. The reason I oppose this is just that I feel if we want something, a project like this, that more should be offered community-wise. If in exchange they want to make a, I mean, let's face it, I mean, the reason they're doing this is to make money, and there's nothing wrong with that. But if they're going to do that, if they're going to increase the density and bring so much more traffic, so much more so many more residents and so many more things into this area, I feel like the community should get something back, more than just like evening out. Thanks. That's all I had.
Sure.
Enjoy the beach.
Thank you for your comments, Shannon Chang. Thank you. The next speaker I have is Tiffany Tronson. Is Tiffany joining us virtually? We don't have a virtual name that reflects Tiffany. So if you need to change your virtual name to reflect that, or if you need to do there is a call-in person, you can type *9 to raise your hand if that's Tiffany on the call-in. If not, I'm going to carry on. Okay, I'm going to carry on. Next, do we have any other first-time speakers who would like to speak? So yes, I've got Stephanie back here, and then yes, over here. And you're not a first-time speaker, so I'm going to Miss Stephanie. Yeah, come on down first.
Joanne. Oh, no, erase it.
Yeah. Welcome. When you're comfortable, you have 5 minutes to address the hearing.
Thank you, Your Worship and Council. Of course, I support these bylaws. You've heard from other speakers who want to live in Lynn Valley but can't, and I'm one of them. I spend my time in Lynn Valley, I spend my money in Lynn Valley, but there just isn't enough housing, particularly rental housing. And speaking to rentals, dem evictions are life-altering for tenants and they contribute to homelessness. I don't believe that any dem eviction should be taken without serious thought to the tenants affected. On the other hand, buildings have a life expectancy. It's unfair that the burden of this conflict generally falls on tenants, especially when these tenants typically pay lower rent due to the age of the building. The care that has gone into keeping Draycott Gardens tenants in their home, in their neighborhood, and at their current rental rate is more than goes into most developments. To me, it shows a commitment to the community. The physical space may change, but the community is the people and the spirit is the people. After learning about this project and listening to speakers last night, I see a real tension between care for the environment and limits to density. People need homes, and these homes have to go somewhere. But low density sprawl kills access to green spaces, parks, and wilderness areas. Yes, some trees will have to be replaced to build these units. But how many trees and how much wildlife habitat has been lost to accommodate these mega single-family homes on lots that level out and build up as big as possible? In my opinion, living in nature and in support of wild spaces means being mindful of what we exploit, land space included. If we want the next generation and the generation after that to enjoy the same access to green and wild spaces that we value today, then we have to tread a little bit lightly. Relatively modest densification like this development is a much more efficient use of space and building resources than sprawling 1 or 2-story buildings. And this is modest. You aren't putting another amazing Brentwood or Lougheed Town Center or Shangri-La into Lynn Valley. I think that this development fits the space and what I would expect to see in a town center. As for traffic, I disagree that adding people guarantees a traffic nightmare. Improving walkability reduces traffic because it gets people out of cars. Making more diverse housing available and increasing affordable housing stock means that people who work in the area no longer have to commute, which reduces traffic. Increasing the availability of stores and services through 2 stories of commercial units means that people who live here don't have to get in a car every time they need something. The transit changes coming to Lynn Valley are so incredibly exciting. The R2 has been an absolute game changer along the Marine 3rd and Main corridor. A rapid bus line isn't just a big bendy bus. It's increased frequency and it's a reliable trip. I don't have a vehicle, and I know many others in North Vancouver who also don't have a vehicle. It's very possible to be carless, and it has only become easier over the years as transit has improved. Reducing dependence on cars goes back to treading lightly on this earth. I'm pretty sure there's a song about paving paradise to put up a parking lot. Ultimately, I think this is a choice between preserving the past or building for the future and for the next generations. Frankly, I don't think that building for the past is working today. Younger people can't get into the housing market. Older people are left with houses that are too big for their needs. Rates of homelessness and insecure housing are far too high. This development isn't just for today. It's for people who want to stay in their neighborhood as they age, and for young people who want a future here. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for your comments. Yes, please. And then we have another person here in the room, and then I'm going to go to the call-in person online. When it is your time, you're going to press *6 to speak. But first, I've got one more speaker in the room. Welcome. When you're comfortable, you have 5 minutes to address the hearing. If you could start with your name for the record, that would be appreciated.
Good evening, Your Worship and Member of Council. My name is Fred Aksari, and I've been a resident of North Vancouver for past 35 years. And I'm the owner and operator of Lynn Valley Meats for the past 25 years. This makes me one of the longest standing, if not the longest standing tenant in this mall. Over the years, I've made a consistent effort to be an effective member of this community supporting local schools, and participating in community events. I understand the importance of redevelopment, and I'll keep my remarks brief. And I have 3 requests and 1 question. First, I respectfully request a written first right of refusal from Polygon, giving me the opportunity to return to the new development once construction is completed. Second, I'm asking for a fair compensation package equal to what has been offered to other tenants, such as Dairy Queen and VCA Animal Hospital. My goal is not to profit from this situation, but simply to survive the 18 to 24 months of construction, cover relocation costs, and have a viable path to return. Third, I strongly encourage consideration of the proposal parking allocation. 6 parking spaces for retail is not sufficient. And I believe we can all agree that adequate parking is essential for the success of future businesses. Finally, my only question, based on your experience, could you please share what timeline we are realistically looking for the start of phase 1? Thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay, I have the virtual participant on the phone system. Your phone number ends in 474. If you can press *6 to unmute yourself. Can you hear me?
Hi, I can hear you. Are you able to hear me?
I'm able to hear you clearly. Welcome. You have 5 minutes to address the hearing. If you could start with your name for the record, that would be appreciated.
Thank you. My name is Brian Higgins. I've been a Lynn Valley resident with my family since 2017. My son goes to Ross Road. I am an active community member. I coach my daughter's T-ball team as well as assistant coach for my son's team. So we're very much involved with the Lynn Valley community. I think when you look at a site like what Polygon is offering here, it's a great aspect for so much of what is Lynn Valley. We've seen some density that's coming from Bosa and Mosaic, and at the end of the day, people don't want to leave their communities. We've been here for 10 years. You know, we live in a neighborhood that is very family focused, and it is difficult because there is not opportunities outside of basically single family homes and a few condominiums that, you know, are not readily available. So when you look at what the site is, it takes, it almost becomes an anchor for what's been done with the mall, what's been done with where the public library is, and it sort of finishes the other side of Lynn Valley Road. So when you consider the site, it's one that it has great benefit for the families that live in the neighborhood, for the community, and for future residents that want to come into Lynn Valley. And I think also when you look at the suite mix that they're proposing, it solves a lot of that missing middle. Lynn Valley was very much a blue-collar neighborhood back in the 1990s, and unfortunately, with the way home prices have gone, detached homes now, move-in ready for families are quite expensive. You're looking at about $2.5 million starting price. And I think what something like this offers is an ability for people to come in, contribute to the community, and also have the community benefit from the offering. So I'm very much in favor of it. And I think realistically, it shows that Lynn Valley is a great neighborhood, and it's going to continue to be a great neighborhood. But originally, Lynn Valley was more or less developed back in the 1960s. You know, the site that sits on from the commercial side is from the 70s. It's old and derelict now. You know, you look at the beautiful library that's been done. My daughter and wife go there often, as do my son. It becomes almost a meeting place. You know, the outdoor spaces and the Christmas trees and that. So I see what Polygon's proposing here, and I'm very much in favor of seeing further gentrification that also allows for many types of housing opportunities, both for the market and also the non-market component. I think it's a great benefit for, you know, the future of what Lynn Valley will continue to evolve into.
Okay, thank you very much for your comments. Okay, would anybody else like to address the hearing for a first time? And I believe I have, I don't have virtual. Yes, come on up. Welcome. When you're comfortable, you have 5 minutes to speak. If you could start with your name for the record, that'd be appreciated.
Perfect. My name's Alan McCammon. I'm a resident of the west side of Baird Road near Harold. First of all, compliments to everybody in the process here. It's excellent to hear from everybody. I'm probably in the group of people who share concerns about two major things on this proposal. It's already been, the lands have been through an OCP process that contemplates density and growth, and I definitely support that. However, it's just the way the proposal is going right now. My two main concerns are the scale and of the structures, especially on the western and northern sides. And then the second thing is the question of impacts to the traffic and pedestrian dynamics and volumes. On the first one, the structures, to try to be creative and thoughtful here, I'm not exactly sure how zoning bylaws work, if they just apply a set of rules for an entire parcel, or whether they can be hybridized or a bit more subtle than that. My suggestion, obviously from the opening remarks, would be, could the zoning be further amended to preserve the OCP's key themes that the community has already accepted on having more sensitive and gradual transitions to lower density residential on the perimeter and boundaries. So I was wondering if that might be an approach that Polygon and the district and the decision makers could consider. On the traffic one, that's a really hard one to crack at this point. One of the things I think is weak about the submission to date is the baseline data, the assessment that tries to characterize what the circumstances are like today at those important roads like Ross and Baird, Lynn Valley, Harold, Frome, and the present demand on those and the operational dynamic of traffic, people and cycles and everything. I couldn't tell from the materials in the package. It looked like a pretty limited data set, like single day assessment of the conditions. And so that's the starting point, because you can't do predictions if you don't have a good baseline. And the other thing that struck me, especially from some of the comments yesterday, it was fascinating to learn about Polygon's ownership of the property that has a heritage register building on it, the 1202 Ross. And if I'm not mistaken, the district itself might be the landlord for that valley center. And what occurred to me was possibly a lost opportunity for the district itself and Polygon as the major landowners in that Ross-Baird nexus to try to look at this thing more holistically. Certainly strive for a better understanding of the existing demands, think about the future on the transit and the cycling corridor that obviously people would dream wouldn't just begin and end at the project site, which is what it would do right now with the proposal. But step back and think about Valley Center and the demands on its tenants with McDonald's, Life Labs, Physio, all those things, and try to figure out something that might be sustainable when other projects like this one inevitably, probably a bit more to the south, given the land ownership and the circumstances, come online and add even more demand to the sort of the mobility of the area. So in general, certainly supportive of, in general, of the redevelopment, but very keen to see if there's an opportunity here for a more subtle and sophisticated bylaw that would preserve the OCP objectives and policies that were agreed to by the community on transition, and then maybe a bit more homework on traffic, pedestrian, and mobility. Thanks very much.
Thank you for your comments. Alan McCameron. Okay, and next speaker, first time speaker, yeah. Come on up. Welcome. When you're comfortable, you have 5 minutes. If you could start with your name for the record.
Thank you very much. Mayor and Council, my name is Julie Coles, and I also live in the immediate vicinity of this proposal. I have lists on lists of things of which I've submitted, and I think we've heard a lot of them. I'd just like to pick out some ones that are important to me and some ones that maybe haven't been spoken about yet. One would be the preservation of the mature trees at the front on the Baird side of the Draycott Gardens. They are huge. They are glorious. They have all this wildlife, including bald eagles that go in that tree. And to take them down would be a disservice to the community and the nature of that we all want to be in. And even though Polygon has said that wasn't appropriate for the design they have, I think you have heard a lot of people talking about how we want a different design. Love that they're putting new commercial in, love that they're putting in all those suites. I love that they're trying to help the Draycott people, although they should give them more parking because they have 38 spots now. They should each have one assigned to them as part of their move. But that's another thing. To be able to bring in the missing middle, townhouses and condos are needed. Can the whole site be having townhouses on the outside, which is done very, very commonly in other districts, that the outside perimeter is townhouses, and that helps with the shadow effect, and put the tower in the middle. We have enough nature around here. The inside garden space doesn't have to be that big. They can walk half a block to a park. They can walk another half block to a school. So maybe the site can be better constructed for shadows and usages and public space that isn't the green space that they were talking about. So that's the shadowing. Traffic and parking. Baird Road is not wide enough at the Ross entrance for double cars. So I'm assuming that those trees beside the Heritage House are going to be taken down for the sidewalk. I'm not quite sure, but the entire road is not big enough, and that's part of all the other studies that I'm hopefully that you're going to look at. Infrastructure, about the bringing in densification means more traffic. Yes, people can take the bus, but some of us need our cars for work or to take our families to soccer practice. And your own, the district just said that we have the highest density of traffic on the ironworkers of anybody at Metro, and yet we're not doing anything. And I get that's above the municipal level, but why bring more people in until that there's a plan for how to get them off when they need to? The other thing is hospitals and schools. If we're adding all these people, both down Lonsdale, both in West Van, North Van, and in Lynn Valley, how are we making sure the hospitals and the schools can keep up with that demand? Because Lionsgate right now is almost at capacity. Again, I'd like to say that most of us, I think nobody has said we don't want the mall itself needed to be revitalized. I agreed with the person who said let's have more commercial. I'm not against that. It's about how it's presented in the community, and it needs to be graduated down to the people that are existing there, and a lot of effort taken to look at the traffic and parking impact to the residents. So hopefully there's more parking, it's more set back, all those things that can be done better. And the aesthetic of black and white doesn't meet with the rest of the neighborhood. If it's more neutrals, like most of the other buildings, that would be far more palatable. Thank you for your time.
Okay. Thank you very much for your comments, Julie Gould. Okay. Would anybody else like to address the hearing for a first time? Checking online. Don't see anyone first time. And now I'm going to check for first and seconds. And then once we get through first and seconds, we're going to go and see if there's any clarifying questions from council. So staff, get ready for that. Would anybody like to address the hearing for a first or second time? I believe I have Marnie Rice that wanted to speak a second time. And so we'll have Marnie Rice followed by Joanna Lasoka. And then, yes, okay, but we'll go with Marnie Rice first, please.
Thank you. Marnie Rice, a resident at 1195 Ronayne Road at Baird Road. I was a first-time speaker yesterday evening, and I spoke in opposition to the OCP amendment and rezoning. I remain opposed after listening to the staff and developer presentation and public input. Really appreciated listening to the collective wisdom in the room, especially of the neighbors living on Harold and Baird, who have a hyper-local understanding of the nuance, challenges, needs, and opportunities of these streets, lanes, and trails. I learned a lot from the residents who are renters in Draycott Gardens and the speakers with homes backing onto the North Lane. We need to privilege their feedback. I had to distill out the Polygon boosters who spoke of the developer's ironclad reputation in the region and Michael Audain's benevolence as their founder and now philanthropist. I also had to appreciate but minimize speakers who spoke generally of the need for rental for low and middle income earners. We have a national, regional, and local housing affordability crisis, and 32 new rental units at this site is a very minor contribution to that pressure. The province is requiring your compliance for new housing stock by June 30th, and this site will help you check that box. Everyone agrees and accepts that densification is inevitable, so it is not if, but how it is done. What my neighbors told you last night is that we want you to follow through on the principles of the Lynn Valley Town Centre Plan within the existing OCP density allowance. We want you to address the possibly poor planning decisions of previous councils, not compound those problems with traffic, rezoning, loss of forested neighborhood character, heritage loss, and safety. So what can you, our decision makers, do today? Demand resolution of the issues that are outlined in the omitted shadow study, reduce the height of buildings 3 and 4 and demand setbacks on the North Lane, keep a respectful transition to the scale of existing homes on Harold and Baird, consider duplication of well-received condos like Walters Place or the smaller scale multi-unit application by EDG Homes for the Cross House development at 1120 Harold. Extend sidewalks on Baird Road right to the end of the cul-de-sac. Limit vehicle, including e-bike speed to 30 kilometers an hour on Baird. Preserve and revitalize the card house at 1202 Ross Road as a community amenity, even if it lacks a designated heritage status. Otherwise, it seems doomed. Include Ross Road Plaza in the development or place a covenant on density and height limits for future developments on that site. Preserve and protect the existing cedar tree canopy on Baird and Hastings Creek slopes. Optimize traffic lights from Mountain Highway to Williams and all the way to Highway 1. Require more points of access into and out of the site for emergency commercial and residential uses. Restrict right turns on red lights from Mountain Highway West onto Lynn Valley Road. Transform the existing Ross Road congestion and lack of safety with such actions as closing the McDonald's drive-through, moving the outlet to Lynn Valley Center, moving the BRT platform east to the parklet by the current McDonald's. Provide transparency of what so-called affordable rental costs are to the current Draycott Garden tenants and future renters. Demand better transparency about the site's connection to an upcoming high-density developments on the Safeway and Black Bear Pub sites. Consider the pace of change and the existing community's tolerance for a decade of construction impacts in this neighborhood. The above list of opportunities shows that the development proposal does not sufficiently mitigate legitimate concerns from neighbors. Let's not be enticed by the developer's contribution to the district's aging infrastructure or their ability to beautify a dilapidated mall that was left to decay by design for the last 10 years. We all know that $10.4 million is minor seed money to any community amenity improvements. Further, cost levies paid to TransLink are not a guarantee of improvements at this congested corner of Mountain Highway and Lynn Valley Road. In conclusion, I urge you not to allow an increase to the OCP with higher density on the rezoned site. Send the proposal back to Polygon for a more reasoned development, especially for phase 2, buildings 3 and 4, and a plan that definitely includes the Card House property and ideally Ross Road Plaza and incorporate other community demands. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you very much for your comments, Marnie Rice. Next speaker I have is Joanna Lasoka, second time. Welcome. When you're comfortable, you have 5 additional minutes to speak.
Yes, thank you. Good evening, Mayor and councils and everyone in the room. I would like to briefly address the public support expressed at the previous meeting. I noticed that several of the speakers in favor of this project were realtors, property managers, and commercial mortgage brokers. While they are absolutely entitled to their opinion, it is important to recognize that their professional perspective is not the same as that of residents who will be directly living with the outcome of this decision. After reviewing publicly available information, it appears that at least one of the speakers is actively involved in commercial real estate, including advising on acquisition, development, and site selection. Another speaker, based on publicly available information, appears to be a vice president in real estate finance, specializing in real estate financing and commercial mortgages. That context matters. This is not simply a difference of opinion, it is a difference in professional incentives and perspective. Those working within real estate development and financially naturally view projects through the lens of market activity, investment, and opportunity. Residents, on the other hand, experience the long-term impacts, livability, density, and community character. Those are not the same interests. So when considering public input, I ask councils and the mayor to weigh not only what is being said, but also the context in which it's being said and whose interests are being represented. Because this decision will not be experienced through transactions, it will be experienced through daily life in this community. I would like to raise a separate concern regarding the proposed traffic changes associated with this development. As part of the plan, there is a proposal to eliminate the left turn onto Ross Road from Lynn Valley Road. This is a significant concern. That left turn is a key access point used daily by residents to reach their homes in this area, this particular area. I use daily at least once a day, if not more. I've been using it for the last 30 years. Removing it would force traffic onto alternative routes, increasing congestion on nearby streets and creating unnecessary inconvenience for that community. In addition, this change would directly impact local businesses, Little Plaza, 5 businesses there, McDonald's in the 4th-story building, and the businesses there like Life Labs, gym, physiotherapy, ballet school, plus many more businesses. Access matters, and limiting a primary turn from a main road reduces visibility and ease of entry for customers, which can have real economic consequences. Are we about to just choke another bunch of businesses there because of the reckless decisions? This is not just a minor traffic adjustment, it is a meaningful change to how people move through and access this area. And I would like to address also the idea of this constant focus on biking and literally moving us onto the bikes. I bike, I ride, and I walk. I walk at least 10 kilometers a day, every single day, 7 days a week, okay? And I also ride, and I bike, and drive. Is there a way that we can cooperate and include all of the options rather than removing all the time? Every single time we are shutting down, we are removing the lanes. And I would like to, my other question it is, sincerely I'm asking, I would like to see the developers, the councils, and the mayor. On the question it is to me, to all of you, I just addressed, are you biking to work? Our developers are biking to work? Why we, as the public, we are being forced to, what is the role of the councils and the mayor? You as in the position of making decisions. I've noticed lately the tendency there several years, it is like this, is it your role to shape our behavior, how we move in life? Or is it that you are here to help us in our life? I would like to create a community that all the options are included for all of us, without exceptions. Thank you.
Your comments, Joanna Lasoka. I think I saw yes. I think I saw yes, please. Welcome. When you are comfortable, you have an additional 5 minutes to speak.
After this, I'm not so sure. Thank you. Good evening, Council and Mr. Mayor. Yeah, how to start this? Okay, so when I'm looking at this, and in the interest of transparency, because that seems to have been an issue when it comes to people that are in favor or opposed, and the lack of acknowledgement of that, I will acknowledge that I am a resident on Baird Road. I have been on Baird Road since 1978 and have enjoyed it there. I also work, but I have to transit myself to Surrey to get to work. I don't have an option of taking a bus. That would be 2 hours by bus versus 40 minutes. So for me, there is a bias when it comes to when we look at transit or transportation. It is not a binary type of approach. It is not an either or approach, nor should it ever be. It should be looked in, as other people have said, a holistic approach. So clarification on that. I think a couple of the issues that are going on here is infrastructure as well as critical infrastructure. When we look at the infrastructure, for example, of the schools that are there, Lynn Valley Elementary has a capacity now projected at 440, which was about 145 student increase. It's my understanding it's already reached capacity. Argyle Elementary School, Argyle Secondary, I remember, and that one was upgraded, and I think it's a capacity of 1,300. It also has reached capacity already. We're looking at 400-ish units going in. How is that going to be impactful to the students that are there, and are they going to be able to address those issues? We lost the other secondary school to the French school, so there's no access for the students in the elementary grades to go back anywhere else. So when we're looking at, we need to consider the infrastructure as well. We need to consider the critical infrastructure. As one person just addressed the issue that was just brought up in City News, quote unquote, we are getting trapped. Local leaders call on BC to fix congested ironworkers bridge. I won't go into all the details of it, but we do note that on that news article that was released today, the 15th, it said that Second Narrows has a capacity now of 130,700 vehicles per day as of 2025, the highest per lane of all bridges in the region. Our District of North Vancouver acknowledged that the entire area around it is blocked, that we're getting trapped by bridge capacity. And yet at the same time, you're expecting our buses to be able to mitigate some of that and going into that exact area. As a resident that lives on Lynn Valley on Baird Road, I've seen traffic backed up all the ways to 29th Street, all the ways to Lonsdale on the highway because of the problems that we have with it. Adding 400 more in is not going to make it any easier. The other impact they were talking about is 3 cars per day, which the impact. And that might be true for Baird Road, but Baird Road is not configured in such a way that it would not be a problem. When an issue happens, it usually it's an extensive issue and it's impactful. So it might not happen all the time, but it is impactful. And I want to just paraphrase something that we use at work all the time is circles of impact. It's within a different context, but I still think it is within this context here specifically, where there's basically rings of circle of impact. And I would argue that the first ring of impact is those residents directly around this area. In other words, Baird Road, Ross Road, Harold, Ronnie, that area. Those are the ones that whatever developments are happening is going to impact them. The second one expands that one, as well as 1202 Ross Road. The second one I would say is the next few blocks around it, followed subsequently by within the community, the Lynn Valley, and ultimately North Van. When we're doing these issues and when we're addressing these issues, I think we need to be mindful and respectful of those circles that it impacts, recognizing that the closer to the beginning of that first circle is going to have more impact, not just on an emotional basis, but on a functionality and on an ability to be able to deal with any issues that are going on within them. So my request for the council is to consider a balanced, but also a respectful approach to this, realizing and recognizing the impact it has is not just emotional for most of the residents that are here. It has significant impact for them. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your comments. Would anybody else like to address the hearing for a first or second time? I see a virtual participant, Shannon. I'm assuming that's Shannon Chang from earlier this evening. So we can move Shannon over. That would be great. Followed by Michelle King. Shannon Chang, can you hear me?
Yes, I can. Sorry for the delay. Every time it turns out, every time I join as a panelist, it wants to reset.
We can hear you clearly. So welcome. You have 5 additional minutes to address the hearing.
All right. So just something I wanted to, again, perspective. I know that a lot of people have talked about how they envision Lynn Valley will be in the future and how much they want affordable options for their family and for people who are new, who want to come live here, who may work here or rent here to buy. Just for perspective, there's no guarantee that once this development is over, that what is eventually going to be sold or rented will be affordable. It's a big maybe. It's a gamble. I'm not saying that you don't necessarily take it, but again, it's all about perspective. The pros in this case, and this is perhaps the biggest pro that everybody brings up, is the diversity and hopefully bring down the cost of housing in Lynn Valley. That's a big maybe on the pro side. But the cons, the increased pressure on infrastructure, the locking in of commercial space utilization, the loss of surface parking, all of those are pretty much guaranteed negative impacts, and they're ongoing, very, very difficult to remedy after the fact. So again, it's just one of those things. For a little perspective, what the community gains from changing the OCP is kind of maybes. What it's going to cost, though, is definite. I'll just add a couple of other notes just from, I had a map that I wanted to show because somebody mentioned the closure of Ross Road. And it's a bigger deal than I think a lot of people realize, because once you close off the left turn onto Ross Road, which is incredibly important to me because that's the way to get to McDonald's, what does that mean? Because it's not just that. There's that, and there's also that now you cannot get into the commercial space off of Lynn Valley Road. All of that traffic is probably going to be redirected, and the closest alternative, if you're coming in that way, is onto From. And it intersects with that big throughway to get across to the other side of North Van, 29th. There's a 4-way stop there. And again, I wish I had the map up so I could show you. Today, at busy times, that's already an awful choke point. Every morning, every afternoon, if you're trying to get someplace in a hurry, that's already an issue. I know they're talking about putting traffic lights in there. Maybe if we put them in now and that solved that problem, we could talk about maybe increasing the capacity and seeing what would happen if we add more. But really, the effect of traffic lights, it can only do so much. And we're not talking about adding more roads or anything like this. And I know traffic's been talked about a lot. But again, it's one of those things where, yes, one of the pros talked about is like all this investment in infrastructure. And, oh, we're going to put in traffic lights, we'll put in sidewalks and things like that. That's all good. But we wouldn't need all those additional investments if it wasn't for all the things that they're asking for. And what they're offering as compensation isn't likely to make up the difference. It will make things not as bad. But again, it's not quite balanced. And finally, just on a personal note, a lot of people have talked about how the current commercial space, the Lynn Valley Mall that's there right now, is fading and it's an eyesore and it really, really needs to be replaced. I actually completely agree. But that doesn't require any changes to the OCP. It doesn't require any rezoning. That can be done right now. And I find it uncomfortable when a developer comes in and says, hey, this space, sure, I'll revitalize it. But only if you grant me like of exemptions to a bunch of rules. Only if I get to overbuild, things like that. I don't like commercial areas being held, for lack of a better word, hostage like that. But that's my 2 cents. And I hope that helps. I do appreciate having opportunities like this to discuss municipal matters. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments, Shannon Chang. Okay, and the next speaker I have is Michelle King, I believe. Michelle King, can you hear me?
Yes. Can you hear me?
Clearly. Welcome. You have 5 additional minutes to speak to the hearing.
Okay. Thank you so much. And I apologize for going over time in my first session. The next topic I wanted to address was around the commercial tenants. I want to urge council to require meaningful support for the existing commercial tenants. The developer's suggestion that the tenants will be encouraged to return, it doesn't provide any certainty at all. Many of these are small businesses, they're locally owned and longstanding. Without real support during construction and realistic opportunities to return, there's a risk that they're going to be permanently displaced. Bringing in new business is obviously great, but I don't think it should be at the loss of existing businesses that bring character to the neighborhood. So often with these redevelopments, what you see moving in are chain businesses that don't bring identity to the area. So in summary, for my concerns about this proposal, I want to encourage council to uphold the zoning direction outlined in the official community plan, to require substantial revisions to the site design so it better integrates with the town center and surrounding neighborhoods. I want you to take the local residents' traffic concerns seriously, and to put those measures in place to support the commercial tenants. I have a whole bunch of other concerns, but it's not going to fit. I do have a few additional comments that are not directly related to this zoning issue and the proposal, but I do feel are important to put forward. I would like, if this proposal is either rejected or withdrawn, that the council require any future developments to consider, to require it to include the Ross Plaza site. Also, from my understanding from yesterday was that a portion of the community funds are being allocated to the Seymour area. I'd like to better understand why those funds are not all being retained in Lynn Valley area. I would like council to consider adopting a requirement for speakers at public hearings to disclose their existing or anticipated employment or business relationships with the applicant, or if they work in associated fields. I believe that this would really improve transparency in the public process. Lastly, I would like council to take into consideration people who are unable to walk or to bike significant distances. The reliance on the car is not going away, and planning should not assume that the community will transition to biking or walking on a wide scale. The car is not going away, and it needs to be adequately incorporated into development plans. Thank you for your time and your consideration, and I look forward to seeing the changes that are going to happen with this development. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your comments, Michelle King. I will respond to one aspect of that just because it is a process question. The District of North Vancouver does not have the tools, nor are we permitted to verify someone's identity, verify who they work for, verify what possible biases and connections they may have. Unfortunately, we don't have the ability to do that. So we all have to use our own judgment. You're welcome to you look people up or ask questions around the room or whatever you would like to do, but we do not have the tools to get people to swear an affidavit to their identity and what their past conflicts of interest may be. We don't have access to those tools. And so I'm not even actually supposed to ask for their address. I'm allowed to ask for their name for the record, but we used to be allowed to ask for their address, which helped us determine whether they were in the neighborhood or not. We're not allowed to do that anymore either. So while I appreciate the comment about making sure that we can distinguish local residents and the feedback that comes from local residents versus people who may have other interests in the matter, we don't have the tools available to us and we're not permitted to do that in the process. So you'll have to use your own judgment, and so will the council. Would anybody else like to speak a first or second time to the hearing? So I don't see a first or second. Anyone else for first or second? I will exhaust the public speakers list in a little bit. But right now I'm going to go over to staff. Staff, my count is, I think, there's about 11 questions of clarifying nature that have come in from the council. So if you could read those questions and your responses into the record, that would be appreciated.
Thank you, Your Worship. The first question is whether 1202 Ross Road is 3 lots or 4 lots, and what are the implications on that property if small-scale multi-unit housing is approved? The card house at 1202 Ross Road consists of 4 parcels. However, this property is not part of the current application. And to clarify comments from last night, because 1202 Ross Road is currently zoned RM3, Multifamily Residential Zone 3, which is not a single-family zone, the provincial SMU, small-scale multi-unit housing framework, does not apply to that property. Therefore, any redevelopment potential would be determined through the existing RM3 multifamily zoning, or a rezoning process, or a heritage revitalization agreement, but not through the SMU unit permissions. Next question is regarding the shadow questions from last night. There were many questions yesterday regarding shadowing, and the applicant team has provided an updated shadow analysis, which the clerk's office has added to the public hearing binder, both online and in the room. The updated document is based on the same 3D model as the previous document, with an additional axonometric view that is a perspective view, so it's easier to understand the shadow impacts on properties to the north. The next question. From the feedback we've heard, there were suggestions for Polygon to reduce the heights of building number 3 and number 4 from 6 stories to 4 stories. Can the applicant comment on the implications and trade-offs of doing that? So in that case, I'll call the applicant.
Welcome.
Your Worship, members of council. I'm not sure exactly how to answer that question. I guess we've been working on these properties for the past 5 years. So what we're proposing, we don't do lightly, and we haven't done in isolation. We've been working with the district planning staff, the district engineering staff about all of the different options. We've looked at multiple options on this development. Polygon, when it comes into a community, we look very carefully at what the policies are, and we try very hard to respect those policies. Of utmost importance is the official community plan, which was adopted in 2011. So that's 15 years ago. And there was a 3-year, very extensive community process for that official community plan. So when we purchased these properties, we looked at that plan. And on the Draycott site, 6 stories is permitted in the OCP. On the Lynn Valley Mall site, up to 12 stories is permitted on that site and a 2.5 FSR. On the Draycott property, only 1.75 is permitted. So why did we change that? We changed it because there's trade-offs, and we heard from the district that they wanted many things that weren't in the OCP. They would like to see market rental housing. They would like to see affordable rental housing. They would like to see below market housing. So there's trade-offs because those amenities that the district advised us that they wanted for their community have significant costs. The cost to do rental is still costs the same to build a market condo building as a market rental building, but the capitalized value is significantly less for rental. For the affordable rental, we're subsidizing in effect the rents for the Draycott tenants to move them and relocate them and build them brand new 3-bedroom homes. So that's a cost. That cost we can't recover. We've already purchased the land based on the OCP. So these are additional costs. For example, when we previously provided rental accommodation, rental homes for Evergreen and Hawthorne, they were the CAC. Now here we're providing market rental, below market rental, and effectively affordable rental, and we're providing $10 million in cash for community amenities. So previously, the rental was just the amenity. What am I getting at? So there's more density being required for economics to make this project viable, or nothing happens. The other indication was that the district would like us to purchase the public lane, which requires that density from the lane to pay for that $2 million needs to go somewhere. So that was another like 15,000 square feet. So the only place to go is on top of a building. It's the same thing with the TransLink dedication. That was about another 12,000 square feet of density. It has to go somewhere to pay for that land that's dedicated. So I think what's happened is we need additional density to pay. It's a trade-off for public amenities. I think the dilemma is that the immediate neighbors may not appreciate and value those public community amenities, but the district does, or we've been advised that the district does value those amenities. They just unfortunately come with a cost, and the only way to pay for that cost is additional density. So some people are saying, why don't you just build 12 stories on the Lynn Valley Mall site? Well, we did consider that. We have many options. We proposed that initially, think, okay, 12 stories, that's great. We heard unequivocally, like we were shut down very quickly. Do not build a tower in Lynn Valley. We don't want any towers. We don't want high rises. We don't even want mid rises. So where do you put that density that was proposed and planned for the Lynn Valley Mall site? Where do you put that? So everything is like a lump of plasticine. It gets squished down. You take it, it's got to go somewhere. So it went to the Draycott site. It's, I think in the OCP, the Draycott site was a transition site. It was seen as on the west side of Baird were 3-story townhomes. The transition was up to 6 stories on the Draycott site, up to 12 stories on the Lynn Valley Mall site. That's in the OCP. And that was vetted by the community 18 to 15 years ago. So I'm a little surprised that some of these residents weren't familiar with that. We weren't trying to pull a fast one, and we're not trying to get more than our fair share. The affordable rental is very, very expensive to provide and very, very costly to build. And we thought it was a wonderful amenity. We thought the community would really support that was valuable. And it would, the extra density, a few more units, again, we thought was valuable. The district thought it was valuable, we thought.
So I think
so am I.
it has been a while.
Okay, thank you.
It has been a while in the process since we heard from the applicant, so I let you go on a little bit there, but I just want to check. Did that answer the question? Thank you very much. Okay, next question, please.
Yeah. There may be also some additional clarity between the existing zone, the OCP designations, and the Lynn Valley flexible planning framework. So we do have many documents and policies. Some of them are bylaws and some of them are just guidelines guiding staff's review of this proposal. The next question is, can staff confirm that the parcel on Lynn Valley Road and on Baird Road is 3.5 acres and that the FSR is 2.5? Yes, staff can confirm that the total site area is 3.5 acres or 14,408 square meters, and the proposed density is 2.5 FSR in total. The next question is, people have brought up rent increases.
Sorry, I would just want to double check that. The way the question is worded, just want to be clear. It says, can staff confirm that the parcel on Lynn Valley Road and Baird is 3.5 acres? I think the response was the total of the two parcels together is 3.5 acres. Was that the response?
That is the response.
Okay,
thank you.
So just to be clear to the councillor's question, the parcel that's on the Baird side, did you want to know the specific size of the Baird side parcel, or is that what you were looking for?
I've asked this many ways, and that's why I'm asking again, because you understand what I'm requesting, Mayor Little. So I want to know both the Lynn Valley Road and the Baird in total, both of those parcels put together is 3.5.
That's what we've just had. Yes.
And 2.5 FSR.
Do you want to know the breakdown?
No, I just want the total amount.
Okay.
I want the total amount for both sites because they're put together, and it's 2.5 FSR.
Great. That's the answer that Ms. Stonehawker just provided.
Thank you.
You have additional comments, Ms. Stonehawker?
I think we're all in agreement now.
Yes.
Thank you. Next question. People have brought up rent increases. Are the existing tenants not subject to annual allowable increases as set by the residential tenancy branch? Yes, the existing Draycott tenants are subject to the annual permitted increases as per the residential tenancy branch. The next question is a duplicate of the first question regarding the property at 1202 Ross Road and 3 or 4 legal lots. So the question is the card property on 3 or 4 legal lots? As I said a moment ago, it consists of 4 parcels. Yeah. And the second part of that question is, so this could potentially produce up to 18 to 24 additional units if SHMU is applied by the province.
I think you clarified that one for me because the zoning's different. So it's not single family lots, right? So that was, I deleted it. I guess you guys don't see that I deleted it.
Thank you. Next question. The ground floor commercial is planned for 10 units. Can this be increased? The ground floor commercial space is tentatively divided into 10 commercial retail units. While each CRU could become larger or smaller depending on the tenant space needs, the overall ground floor commercial footprint of approximately 11,500 square feet cannot be significantly increased due to the Lynn Valley Road dedication and driveway geometry. In terms of CRU size, the average proposed is around 1,150 square feet, which is typical for local serving businesses. If a larger tenant, such as a restaurant, is interested in opening in the new development, realigning the demising walls between the CRUs or combining the CRUs can easily be done to accommodate this use. Next question is, what is a realistic timeline for the start of phase 1 should the rezoning be approved? Staff will ask the applicant to comment on their proposed timeline to start building phase 1, taking into account the timeline for development permit issuance and then building permit process.
Your worship, members of council, I have to laugh at that one because I don't know. It's really up to the district process. We would like to start sooner than later, but I don't see it starting before 2028.
A general target will help us.
Yeah, I think that would be, I don't know how long. We'd still need to get a development permit. We'd still need to get a building permit. We still need to do DP drawings and BP drawings. So
The time of demolition of the existing buildings to the time of occupancy, 24 months?
for the first phase, sure, 24 months.
Okay.
It's reasonable.
So when you know the demolition time, that's when you'll know the likely occupancy time at that point.
Good estimate. Thank you.
The next question is, staff has reported that the commercial retail is 1-to-1, but half of the space is on the second floor, which removes 50% the mix of main floor space. I understand that we need more retail space based on the zoning presentation. However, how is that goal being reached when we are removing half? The district's economic development strategy calls for a range of commercial employment spaces, including both retail as well as office spaces, which this proposal includes. While the proportions between first and second floors are different than the existing mall, which is primarily one level, the proposal is a one-for-one replacement of the existing commercial spaces, allowing some tenants to return as well as a variety of businesses to come to the new development to serve the neighborhood.
But Mayor Little, can I just ask for clarification?
Yes.
But do we not understand that the impact to the retail or uses in commercial on a second floor is very different from access to a main floor retail commercial unit? So even though the square footage is the same, it's very different. What, from what it is now, and it's we're stating that it's 1-to-1, but it's so different in how it operates that I think it's a bit unfair to say that it's 1-to-1. It won't act the same at all.
I think you're correct that if 100% of the current tenants wanted to relocate and take a similar size, they would not be able to be accommodated with the split of uses between the first and second floor because there's now more second floor, even though that's a limited subset. But the replacement is 1-to-1.
But I think it is very important that that be clarified, and it's not clear in the report.
Okay. Thank you for clarifying. Okay. Ms. Stonehawker, do you have any additional comments on that, or?
No, thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Next question. Within the Lower Mainland, is staff aware of any relocation package for commercial tenants? There have been discussions on this topic, but so far staff are only aware that the City of Vancouver has a commercial tenant assistance program, which offers information for relocation planning and decision-making for commercial tenants. The City of Vancouver's Commercial Tenant Assistance Program does not provide relocation packages or financial compensation. Instead, it reflects the broader framework in BC where commercial tenancies are governed by private lease agreements and contract law, meaning any compensation or relocation support must be negotiated directly between the tenant and landlord.
Mr. Milburn?
Your Worship, just wanted to add, Local Government Act provides a general prohibition of local governments providing assistance to business. So I just wanted to make sure that was read into the record. So if council wanted to consider options around that, we would have to seek legal advice and possibly restrict based on our limitations under statute. Thank you.
If existing commercial tenants want to strike an agreement of any kind, they need to do it directly with the owner of the property. The municipality doesn't have a role in that. Stonehawker?
The next question is approximately when are we anticipating occupancy of phase 1? As we heard from the applicant a moment ago, this is approximately 24 months after construction starts, and the time of construction starting will depend on the development permit and building permit process. The next question is, how does the project at Baden Park, Mount Seymour Parkway, on almost double the size of the lot, 6.5 acres and 1.37 FSR, compared to this project at only 3.5 acres with 2.5 FSR? So staff can confirm those statistics comparing Baden Park on Mount Seymour Parkway to the current proposal. Baden Park has a total site area of 6.5 acres, a density of 1.37 FSR, site coverage of 32%, and gross floor area of 373,000 square feet. Tonight's proposal has a total site area of 3.5 acres, density of 2.5 FSR, site coverage of 39%, and a gross floor area of 388,000 square feet. In other words, the gross floor area is similar between these two projects. However, in this town center location, the built form for the proposal under consideration tonight is apartments instead of the combination built at Baden Park.
Thank you.
The next question is, are staff recommending removal of the left turn from northbound Lynn Valley Road to westbound Ross Road? Removal of the left turn is only one of the mitigation measures currently contemplated to improve the existing traffic issues experienced by residents in the area. These measures are based on rigorous parking and traffic analysis backed by real data, and they follow the Institute of Transportation Engineers, ITE's, best practices. The current road design only provides storage for a single vehicle turning left onto Ross Road or into mall access, which results in vehicle rear ends sticking into through lanes in both directions on Lynn Valley Road. However, the recommended traffic mitigation measures are subject to further analysis by the district's transportation department and will be further reviewed as the project progresses. The applicant's transportation consultant is available to offer technical rationale for these measures.
Your Worship, Council and staff, thanks for having us. My name is Daniel Fung. I work at Bunton Associates. I'm one of the senior managers there. And I have Joseph Chow, who is our senior engineer. We can provide a little bit more information.
Yep, so we have tested a number of scenarios with and without the left turn on Ross Road. And our assessment shows that the removal of the left turn on Ross to Lynn Valley positively responds to the area that would improve traffic efficiency and safety. As noted by a staff member, the current storage length is very short and is shared between the westbound left turn into Lynn Valley Center, and is often shown to spill back onto the through traffic. This will decrease that spillback and then improve the safety of the network. In addition, it reduces the opportunity of vehicles to stop short as affected by McDonald's queues on Ross and improve safety as well. This allows network traffic to better utilize the full sum network via driveway access through Foam Road and full use of the grid network.
Yeah, so just to add a little bit to that, most of the mitigation measures, especially the left turn that's in discussion right now, was part of a discuss how do we make the network safer altogether, partially from district staff's request and also as part of the October 18th public information meeting. These residents have given a lot of very good information as to how we can better improve the network, and this was also one of those suggestions and recommendations that we received. That's why it made it into our report as part of a mitigation measure. That's all we have. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Don Hawker.
Thank you. The next question is, how many community meetings were there in regards to this application? In October 2025, an in-person public information meeting was held at Ross Road Elementary, and at the same time, a 2-week virtual public information meeting was held online. Prior to that public meeting, the applicant held 2 tenant information meetings for the Draycott tenants in September 2025, and in March 2026, the applicant held additional tenant information meetings for the Draycott tenants as the project approached referral.
Okay.
That is the end of the questions for now.
Okay. We'll return back to the public. Would anybody else like to address the hearing for a first or second time? I'm not on to third times yet, so yes.
Thank you, Julie Coles.
Gould.
Julie Coles for a second time. Just a quick response, if you will, to the traffic study. If they if they think that blocking that left-hand turn lane is a good idea, which it's not, where are the people supposed to go who, say if they're coming down Lynn Valley from the highway, they don't know they're supposed to turn on Frome to get to this new, because the only way to get to parking is now to turn on Frome, turn down Ross, which is a very narrow residential street, then turn on Baird, then turn into the underground parking and so on. So if they have passed that and they don't know how to get there and they don't have the ability to turn left on Ross, where do they go? Oh, they go to Mountain Highway going, oh no, I'm lost. So they turn up Mountain Highway. Oh, there's nowhere to go. Oh, I'll turn here by the church. Oh, that's a dead end. I'm going to have to turn around. Now what do I do? Now they're going to do a U-turn in that cul-de-sac by the church and then come back out. How is that going to help anybody? Thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay. Would anybody else like to address the hearing for a first or second time? Would anybody like to address the hearing for a first, second, or third time? I have a hand for third time, Joanna Lasoka. On third times, I'm just going to give you a little bit of instruction on it. You're not permitted to repeat previous presentations. It has to be new information, so I have to be a little direct on that. So, but please welcome, you have 5 additional minutes to speak to the hearing.
Thank you. Yes, I would like to also address, I'm actually surprised about it. Apparently there was an input from the public on the left turn from Lynn Valley to Ross Road. I live there. I've been living there 30 years. I'm not the only one, okay? We've been using every single day this turn to get to our homes. We're supposed to go around 29 from then Rose, and then going to Baird Road.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you very much for your comments, Joanna Lasoka. Next, I have Michelle King, virtual participant. Again, Michelle King, as this is your third time, we need you to make sure that it's new information, but welcome, you have 5 additional minutes to address the hearing.
Thank you. I want to follow up on something that the applicant said. They said that a 6-story building is acceptable under the current zoning. And I want to clarify what they mean by the current zoning, because my understanding is the current zoning is RM3. The OCP allows to RM5. And what I could find on the website, which took a while, so I don't know if I found the right stuff, was that both of those zonings only allow mid-rise buildings. And I think if you ask the general public, and I Googled it and they said mid-rise is 1 to 4. I also found something from Stats Canada that indicates mid-rise is less than 5 stories. So I would ask where the information is coming from that says RM3 or RM5 would allow a 6-story building. My other comment that I forgot to include in my previous notes was the current commercial access to the Lynn Valley Mall site is off Lynn Valley Road. It really doesn't cause that much problem. And I would like to see the commercial access to remain off of Lynn Valley Road for the points that the previous 2 speakers said. People coming to that commercial site, they're going to see it off Lynn Valley Road, but there's not going to be a clear way to get in. And getting to a commercial site in and around all these different little residential areas is not intuitive, and it's not going to be helpful to the commercial tenants. So I would like to see split access. And that's the end of my questions.
Thank you very much for your comments, Michelle King. Would anybody else like to address the hearing a first, second, or third time? Okay, and a double check in with the staff. Have you heard any other additional questions from, oh, I think you've just had one pop in there. So we'll give you a moment to assess that new question.
Yeah. The question is, can staff confirm that the OCP amendment is because the application is asking for the same density in a 12-story building into a 6? The OCP designations outline density, but not height. The height comes through other forms. We have the existing zones, as Michelle King just mentioned, which permit 40 feet building height. However, we are in a rezoning situation. In the official community plan, the development permit guidelines do speak to height, and they indicate that a low-rise building has a height of 6 stories and lower, and that applies to the Draycott site. In addition, the OCP indicates that a mid-rise building is up to 12 stories. The other document that applies in this site is the Lynn Valley Town Center Flexible Planning Framework, which is not a bylaw, but was supported by a resolution of council in 2013, which anticipates 5 stories on these sites.
Okay. Okay, I think that addresses the question. So I see your additional question, Councillor Murray. I think that's asked and answered. So the number of stories and the FSR are not always a direct relationship, but basically one parcel was at 1.75 FSR, the other parcel was at 2.5 as a maximum, and they're now together blended at 2.5 with the uplifts that have been discussed in the process. Mr. Milburn?
And just to confirm, if staff can confirm, what is the height that the zoning being requested accommodates?
The requested height is 6 stories and in the zone. One moment.
I think the point is, Mayor Little, that this isn't a little OCP amendment. What we did on one side of the road is quite different what is being presented on the other side. I'm trying to answer Michelle King's question.
Hold on.
I don't think it was
answered. I need
answered.
you to listen. Well, that's right. So I'm going to ask to clarify your question. Is your question, what was the old allowed FSR versus the new allowed FSR, so that you can see what the difference is between the two proposals just as a net number?
Sure, that's a question you're asking, but yeah, let's ask that as well.
Well, is that not? No, I'm trying to inquire about your question. You said you wanted to know the difference between the old to the new. Is that how you want that answered?
Well, no. I did actually say that I was trying to answer a question that Michelle King, but I'm feeling like we're at the end of this, and you're going to go through your 3 readings. And then I won't be able to ask a question. And Michelle had some questions, and I was trying to get the question into the messages. So I was trying to ask a question from a resident, is what I'm trying to do, but I felt like I was running out of time. So maybe we could ask Michelle to ask her question again in regards to the existing zoning.
So I want to get clarification from the clerk. I think that the resident can ask questions of staff at any point going forward,
and we don't
get the response at any point going forward. We
but
have
we
to
can't
close
hear
off
the
the
answer.
feedback that council receives.
Yeah.
Thank you, through your worship. Yes, that's correct. Residents may discuss their questions with staff at any time following the closure of the public hearing. However, the question, if it has been asked into the record, staff do have the ability to respond to that question in the 2nd and 3rd reading report, which will be coming back as long as the matter has been entered into the record during the public hearing.
So
Mr.
maybe
Milburn, and just to
Hold on, Councillor. Mr.
And
Milburn?
just to add to that, the information specific to the zones and the change in the designation of the OCP were read into the record in the initial presentation. They're public. They're part of the public hearing package and certainly can be reviewed and discussed and further presented to council. The information is on the record.
Yeah.
So Mayor Little, maybe I would request if Michelle King starts typing her question right now and emails into it, by the time you get to your first, second, and third time, that would be part of the record. And then staff could answer that as part of the package that comes back. I would be satisfied with that.
So to be clear, I think what Councillor Muir is getting at, and I'll be corrected if I'm wrong, I'm sure, is that Michelle King, when you spoke, I believe you said there were other questions you had that you didn't say into the record at the time. And if there are, the window within which council would be able to hear the answers to those questions is closing very quickly. And so if you want to quickly type them and send them in, we're about to close the meeting, but otherwise I have to take it that you prioritize the questions that you want asked and that you thought were most important to ask in the time that you had. So I need to carry on with the process at this time. Would anybody else like to address the hearing for a first, second, or third time? I have a virtual participant, Shannon. Shannon Chang, you have spoken 2 times already, so this is your 3rd time. Again, we're looking for new material from you only.
Actually, I just had 2 quick questions. I didn't have a chance to go through all.
Just again, to be clear, as we said at the very beginning, it's not a question and answer session. It's a public hearing. We want to hear the benefit of your comments, and we actually don't have the tools to conduct a question and answer period through the public hearing. So if you have comments, we're happy to hear them.
Okay, then, sorry, maybe I misunderstood the process. Yeah, because we were talking about questions being written into the record. But, okay, I don't really have anything to add comment-wise. Yeah.
So I'm sorry, Mayor Little, can I just
much.
clarify? Why can't people ask questions and then councillors ask staff questions? We've done that. We always do that. Why are you saying this is not a question and answer period? If the applicant or if the speaker wants to ask a question, why can't they ask a question? You don't have to say anything, staff doesn't, but I can write it into the message board and have it answered. I think we've been doing that all night. We've been doing that all night.
I need you to let us respond. I'm going to the clerk.
Yes, thank you, through your worship. Members of the public that feels that they have a reasonable interest in the bylaws under consideration this evening may ask questions or provide comments during their input time, both either verbally or in writing. There is not the opportunity for staff to respond directly to questions from the public, as the public have the opportunity to continue conversations with staff following closure of the public hearing. If council should ask that question, clarifying question of staff during the public hearing, that may be answered by staff or may come back during the 2nd and 3rd reading report.
There you go.
So to be clear, it's the answers they can't get in the meeting. So there you go.
Okay, so the speaker can ask the question.
Councillor, I still have the floor. Hold on. So I'll go back to Shannon Chang for your 3rd time. Were there any questions you would like to read into the record? And no, we will not be providing an answer on the spot, but we can have staff follow up at a future time to respond to that.
Oh, I understand, and perfectly reasonable. 2 questions. One was that I tried to find a count of the number of parking spaces that are there currently. I couldn't find one. So I was wondering if I could just find out how many surface parking spaces are currently there right now. The second question I had was to do with something that somebody had brought up about the difference in 1st and 2nd level commercial space. I didn't realize that they're not identical, but nobody actually mentioned what is the difference. Like what is the actual, like what's the original ratio? What's the ratio going to be afterwards? Evidently, it's going to be less first level versus second, but I'd like to know what that number actually is, if possible. That's it.
Good. Thank you very much for your comments. Good. I'm going to now check back in, and I just want to be clear. Michelle King, you've raised your hand. My records indicate that you have already spoken 3 times, and that we do not issue a 4th opportunity to be heard. Who is the, so can I double check back in with staff? Have you received any additional questions to be considered?
Yes.
From council?
Yes, we have a question of the number of parking spaces, surface parking spaces, and a question of perhaps the councillor could clarify the difference, the original ratio and the application.
Yep.
For the first and second floor. For the second question regarding the difference between the first and second ratio, we answered this question last night. The proposal includes approximately 11,500 square feet of ground floor commercial and 13,500 square feet of second floor commercial. So that totals 25,000 square feet, which is approximately a 1-to-1 match of the existing mall. However, the current mall today is approximately 20,000 square feet on the ground level.
Second, third reading about surface.
Yeah. With regards to the amount of surface parking, we can bring that answer to that question back at second and third reading.
Okay. Thank you. All right. I'm going to go back out to the room. Would anybody like to speak a first, second, or third time? Exhausting the speakers list sounds a little bit archaic, but you never know. I'm going to do this 3 times. Would anybody else like to address the hearing? For a second time, would anybody else like to address the hearing? For a third and final time, would anybody else like to address the hearing? Hearing none, Clerk, I believe we have exhausted the speakers list. Now look for a motion from council. Councillor Mah? I haven't received any additional questions. Councillor, is it necessary for your vote?
Try to provide some context to the questions.
I can't hear.
He's thinking.
I was trying to provide some context to the questions about the
Do you have a question? You can type it in. I'll give you 30 seconds. I'm sorry to rush you, but we also cannot have a debate about the merits of the matter while we're at this stage. So if you have a question.
Thank you.
Ms. Stonehocker?
The question is council encouraging commercial on second floor of new developments to promote vibrant retail on the first floor? I would say in short, yes, this is one of the reasons to provide additional commercial on the second floor beyond the reason of just additional employment space.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay, council, I'm looking for, well, I guess, sorry, we reopened. So I'm going to go and exhaust this another time here. Would anybody else like to address the public hearing? A second time, would anybody else like to address the public hearing? We have a virtual participant. Okay. I have, yeah, we'll move David Wasota over. David Wasota, can you hear me? David Wasota, you are, oh, there we go. Now you're unmuted. Can you hear me? Yes, I can hear you. Welcome. You have 5 additional minutes to speak to the hearing.
I just want to quickly follow up some remarks that I heard tonight that seemed targeted. My title was stated, indicating that my opinion should be discounted. I live at Mountain Highway and Mill Street with my wife and 1-year-old son. We often talk about how we'd love to see this site redeveloped. We want more ground level retail outside of the Lynn Valley Center Mall. I want to clarify that my professional role is more financing purpose-built rental. I have not financed construction for sale condo developments. I spoke for this project because I've been in the position of wanting to live in this community and not being able to buy here, moved away and came back. I think my position in real estate finance gives me a perspective to understand that in order for a developer to do something like this, there's trade-offs sometimes between bylaws and density, because they're ultimately here to make a profit. Just want to clarify that, yeah, I think precluding opinions of the local community just because they're in the industry eliminates a lot of voices that are directly impacted by projects like this. That's it.
Okay, thank you very much for your comments, Mr. Wasota. Okay, would anybody else like to address the hearing for a first, second, or third time? All right, I'm going to return to exhausting speakers list. Would anybody else like to address the hearing? A second time, would anybody else like to address the hearing? A third and final time, would anybody else like to address the hearing? Okay, I believe we've exhausted the speakers list, and so I'm now going to look for a motion. Councillor Hanson, do you have a motion?
The public hearing be closed and the matter be referred to second and third reading.
Thank you. Councillor Back, is that a second? Thank you very much. I'll prepare to call the question on that. All in favor? Contrary minded? Motion is carried. Okay, and so what that means is that this matter is now closed. So the council has the information they need to be able to make the decision on this. The members of the public, if you have ongoing questions, you are welcome to talk to staff. You're not welcome to talk to the council. If staff find something to be of a critical nature, they'll just make the decision as to whether or not that we need to take another avenue. But at this point, we're going to return the matter to second and third reading, where you'll hear the arguments from the council at that time. Double check in with the clerk. When are we tentatively scheduling second and third reading?
Thank you, through your worship. Second and third reading is tentatively scheduled for May 25th regular meeting.
So our intent is to have that land on May 25th. But unfortunately, stuff does happen that pushes our agendas around a little bit. And so if you are watching this item closely, you'll have to double check our agenda on the Wednesday before, or I believe is approximately when we should have that published, or about 4 or 5 business days before we'll have it published on the agenda. And so then you'll know exactly when the matter is going to return for second and third reading, where you'll hear the benefit of council's comments on the matter. At this point, it is closed, so no further comments to council. So I just wanted to express my appreciation to staff for their presentations and for all of the work they've done, and appreciate public participating in the process. Thank you all. Have a great evening. Good night.